Well, I have mentioned in the past that I have this old building across the street referred to as the Lovering and Smith building. This is an old building that I'm trying to restore into a gift shop, and part of that will be a ice cream shop. Right next door is a beauty salon, so this half will be the gift store. And this probably is where the manure spreader is going to live as well. So I want to take you in and kind of show you where I am in the process of remodeling this. So this still has the old original doors, I think dating back to that Levering and Smith era. Kind of like this recessed entry. It's kind of cool. So this is where I've been working. Kind of give you a brief tour and some of the thoughts that I have on how we're going to place this all together someday here. We have been gathering up some display cases. In fact, these 4 here came from the museum in Columbus. Penny needed them out of her way, and we needed some display cases, so we brought them over. These other ones here we've been accumulating too. Kathy, who's going to actually run this store, has been picking these up. So when we get this all put together, we'll decide what goes where, of course. So on this side here, this faces Main Street, and this is kind of the southern side. Was the exterior brick wall. Well, this was all studded in and insulated. And I'm putting a low profile metal wainscot around the whole place. And it's actually in this corner here that we are contemplating on putting a display in memory of Rick Bischoff's The Luminary Shoppe. Many of you have watched his channel as well, and we'll talk a little bit more about that here in a minute. But I'm putting all this wainscot clear around the whole room here. We have about 1,800 feet on this side here as well. And back in this section here, we're anticipating that this is where the ice cream store will be. Have our ice cream refrigerators and countertops. All this was plumbed in and electrical system was put in to accommodate that. And then as we go more toward the north side, we have a big door here, and our bathroom is in this section here, but we have an 8-foot kind of an alleyway here that we can get larger vehicles in if I want to bring perhaps that manure spreader over. We have an overhead door in the back, and we can get things fit in that way. And then coming back up toward the front, which would be kind of the northern side, we've got a bathroom getting put in. And again, we're following this wainscoting all the way around the theme of the whole room. And since we're still in the process of remodeling all this, I still have all my equipment and tools and all that I'm working with. Have a complete new heating, air conditioning system put in with this exposed ductwork. And we've also had new laminate flooring laid throughout this whole room. And so the next step in this whole process is to put tin on the exposed stud that you see clear around. I'm going to do the same low profile in kind of a beige off-white tone, and that will finish this whole room and get us pretty close to where this might be functional. And then in the very back end, we have our mechanical room where the furnace is at. We have a small office here that will accommodate bookwork and that type of stuff. So this is kind of where I'm at in the process right now of doing my remodeling. So as I mentioned earlier, Rick is entering into retirement. He has finished the last set of lamps that he's going to do as a business. So I'd like to take you out into his shop and show you kind of where he's at in this final stages of shutting down the Luminary Shoppe. And some of that equipment that he has that is specific to his shop in the history of the carriage lamp industry, I'm going to designate this area here to him. He has some stamping presses, his spinning lathe, and display of lamps. All that is going to be designated toward the history of the Luminary Shoppe and the carriage lamp industry as a whole in this area. So I'd like to take you out and do a brief walkthrough and see some of this equipment that he has that's going to end up here as part of this gift store quasi-museum display. So we're out here at Rick's shop, the Luminary Shoppe, and you've all been here before. And Rick is in the process of
shutting down, retiring.
shutting her down. Yeah, going to retire after 42 years.
41.
41, yeah, been a long time. So we're here to look at his shop. As I mentioned earlier, some of his stuff is going to go into this gift store, quasi-museum that we looked at earlier. And Rick's going to give us kind of a tour of some of the stuff that he has, tools that is specifically related to the Carriage lamp industry. And he's got some projects here that are just mind-blowing cool. So why don't we start with your lamps? This is the grand finale. This is the last project that you did. It's pretty impressive.
So these are the last projects I've done, and this particular pair is a pair of Brewster number 2 Starry lamps. That's the model that they used for them. That's original silver on the inside, except for the very back panel, which I made new, because somebody in the life of these lamps drove a hole right through the middle back here.
Oh, no.
That had to be, it's been repaired on the outside and a new liner on the inside. The significant thing about these lamps for me is that I did these for the first man that helped me get started in doing restoration.
Really?
I had been doing, building the new lamps, you know,
Right.
from buying that business and all that, and I wanted to get into restoration work. And it took me a few years, and anyway, he noticed my work at Martin's auction, and he came to me one day and he said, "I'd like to have you restore a pair of lamps for me." And they were big, tall, square pair of lamps. They were probably 35 inches or so. They were road coach lamps, and he wanted them restored as a present for his then employer, David Rockefeller. He didn't tell me that. He just said, "I want these restored. I'm going to give them to my boss for a present, for a birthday present, 95th birthday present."
Wow.
And that was years ago, probably in the early 1990s.
So he got you started, and then that was at the beginning of your restoration, and now these are at the end of your restoration.
And these are the last pair that
Wow.
I did. So I did the first pair that I restored for Steve, and this pair for Steve.
Wow.
41 years apart.
Wow.
So that's kind of cool.
That is cool.
Kind of make them kind of special to me.
Yeah.
And,
Wow.
These were the next to last pair that I finished. This was the last pair that I finished.
These are awesome.
Yeah.
And these are Hirsch lamps.
Those are Hearst lamps.
So this
To her.
is going to be the grand finale of
Yes.
your lamps.
Yeah, this is the last I've done, and
Wow.
it's they're completely silver plated outside and inside. I took these apart, completely apart, all the pieces apart, treated each piece, and had the plating and all that done. I had them nickel plated under, and then when I put them all together, I silver plated the entire outside by hand.
They're phenomenally ornate.
They're 55 inches tall. So Gleason Camp was well known for really fancy, high quality hearses. Now, I don't know if they actually made these lamps, though their name is in them. I know White Manufacturing made some things like this one. I've seen that on White Manufacturing lamps, and I've seen this in White Manufacturing catalogs, this particular piece. So, you know, I don't know, maybe the whole lamps were made by White, and then sold to Gleason Camp, who put their name in it, and, you know, it's hard to say. Or White might have put their name in it for them.
So this main body, and then these are added, soldered on?
Yes.
Wow.
And I can point out a lot of the detail in these particular pieces of everything on the lamp, just these pieces, a lot of detail has been buffed right out of them.
Okay.
And that was done previous to when we got the
so
lamps.
These are original.
Yeah, all these pieces are original.
They're all original.
Other things on these lamps that I had to replace are this piece right here. I had to spin a new one because the old ones were crushed and they were just gone. I think what happened was at some point in the life of these lamps, they had been taken apart, and there's a core down through the inside here, which was removed. There's also a core up through here that's soldered in specific places to give this whole assembly some strength. And that was literally bent.
Wow.
So I had to take all that and straighten it out. But so the lamps are all crooked and kind of wavy when I started on them. So a lot of those parts, these parts were ruined because there wasn't any support under them.
Oh.
And they were actually crushed and there were holes in them. That's why I replaced them.
And you did this type of work on your spinning lathe?
Yes.
Yeah.
The way these mount is there's a tapered pin or prop on the vehicle, and that is received into this tapered hole. And then there's a set screw here to tighten it on there.
So you haven't been able to find anybody that wants to fill your shoes?
Nope. I've been looking for about 5 years. And I've come to understand why it's been difficult to try to find somebody to do this is the supporting, to get to the point to do something. I mean, it took me 35 years to get to where I could do something like this.
Yeah.
So, or would even try it. But the supporting skills are very difficult. Just the basic polishing and silver plating, it's almost impossible to find. There are a few in the country that do a good job. There's, let's put it this way. There are a few silver platers. You can count them on one hand. And of them, there are probably 2 that I would feel comfortable sending something like this to.
And they're getting old.
And they're getting old. Yeah. One of them's in their 80s. The other one, I don't know how old he is, but.
So nobody to fill their shoes, so it's just dying away.
So the availability, we were talking about, somebody take over. And I finally came to realize that if somebody was going to take this over, they have to find a glass bender and beveler. They have to find a high quality silver plater or learn to do it themselves. They have to find a spinner or learn to do it themselves. They have to develop some pretty rare techniques in soldering to be able to do what I did here. You think about soldering this piece of glass onto the lamp without harming the glass. You've got to learn some things about doing that. And so all those kind of skills were pretty hard to put together for anybody that wanted to follow on doing this.
So you have some tools here that we've talked about before on putting on display that represents what you do in the old school era.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the right way to put that. What are some of the tools you're thinking about that would fit in that building on Main Street?
Okay. Probably the most important thing is the spinning. That is absolutely integral to lamp building.
Making all these parts like this? Yeah.
So this is a spinning, there's a spinning on top. This is a spinning, this is spinning, this is a spinning, this is a spinning. This is a spinning, this is spinning, this is spinning, that's a spinning. 1, 2, 3, 4 more spinnings on the top. So much of this is spinning, and they all have to fit. You have to make them so they work together. And the spinning lathe is how they do
So
that.
back in the day, that was essential as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You couldn't do this without that. So this is a spinning lathe. It was made in the 1940s. It's signed Graybo.
But, to interrupt you, in the 40s, so this would have been very similar to what was in the 1880s?
Yes. Yeah.
It's just that yours is electric powered and
Well, this originally was powered by flat belt.
flat belt.
It was all the steps were on this
sure.
shaft.
Sure.
I took that pulley off and made this so I had a hand wheel.
Yep.
If you can imagine belts running here while you're trying.
Yeah.
That's not real safety. This is added later. This was on it when I bought it. It's a 4-speed transmission, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And I can run from 927 RPM, 463 RPM, 590 RPM, and 1850 RPM.
Okay, so these are all run on ratios. I see 2 to 1, 4 to 1
Yes.
direct.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, you would not make lamps without this.
No.
Not possible.
No. Well, not lamps like that.
Yeah.
No, that's all.
So even your simple lamps have to
Have
have
spinnings.
the ability to spin.
I don't think you could look at any one of these lamps and not find a spinning someplace on it. So all these old lamps of all different styles and shapes and whatnot, they all have spinnings.
Yeah. So this is what?
This is a Rotex punch. This one was probably made in the 60s. You can buy one just like it, brand new today.
Really?
Maybe a little difference in the casting or whatever, but it's essentially the same machine. They make bigger ones and smaller ones with only 2 or 3 positions. This one has 18 positions. All the tools that we have, including the spinning, was available in the middle 1800s and probably before that, because it was being used in the middle 1800s to make carriage lamps and lots of other things. So this is what's called a pan and box brake. The box brake is just a straight blade like this. With a pan brake, you can put different ones in to make the length of your bend. You can do a lot more intricate work with something like this.
Oh.
So, and it just works very simply. You just clamp your piece in there and bend it up, and you get a nice straight bend. Now, if I wanted to, for instance, if I wanted to bend this piece up again, that's when this box and pan brake works good. You couldn't do that on a straight brake. You couldn't make the opposing bends, whereas this way you can go in and use a piece the right
if you
size
had
that'll fit in
tabs
here.
cut out or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how that works. This is a circle cutter. It goes hand in hand with the spinning.
Really?
So if you want to spin a piece, you have to start with a circle.
Oh.
And this is how you get it. So these are some circles that I've cut in the past for different things. And, and this will go clear from a little circle with a radius of about 1 inch, so you give a 2-inch circle, all the way up to something with a circle that, well, here it's, what is it, 18 inches. So I can cut an 18-inch disc.
Really?
And that's why I put this slot back here,
Okay.
because you clamp the piece in here like this. And then you turn this crank and it cuts it off. So let's make a little smaller circle out of this.
Huh.
And just cut a circle.
Wow.
So then you can clamp that in your spinning lathe. This is a 40-ton punch press.
Wow.
So it generates 40 tons per square inch at the strike.
Really?
And it's because of the weight of the flywheel.
Centrifugal force here.
Yeah, and when you hit the button, it pulls this dog out of the back of the flywheel, and you get one turn before it catches and throws the dog back in. And the flywheel still turns, but the crankshaft stops that way.
It's just one kathunk.
One kerthunk, yep. And boy, you don't want to have your fingers under there or anything like that. This is absolutely essential for making the lamps.
Really?
All the stamp parts are made in either this one or that one. That one's the same thing, only 4-ton. So I started out cutting this to size, just a rectangle.
Right.
I've got patterns for all that, so I know what size to do it in. Then I have a set of punch and dies that cuts out these corners. And those corners are figured for the curves that they're going to fold up to be.
Okay, makes sense.
So this goes in here, and you get one hole.
Huh.
And there's a little stop. And you put this out. And that stop. Then you get another hole. So you can just keep going with more and more holes. All the way across here, all the way across here. You know, so
Huh. So that flat one then comes into here,
you can imagine this being flat and
like what you just had.
what I just had, and holes all the way around. And then there's stops in here, and you stick that in flat now,
Right.
and then and you trip it, it stamps down, and it drives this down into this die and comes up like that. Then I have to make the middle piece. And then I have to make the bottom piece, and then I have to solder all 3 pieces together to get a top.
And that's your top cap.
Yeah. Well, it's an end of an era. It's nobody left taking over.
Yep. Yeah, it kind of becomes a little more real, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So we're going to pick through some of the stuff that Rick would like to leave on display. And yeah, end of an era. Yeah, been at it a long time. Do a good job. You're the best of the best. Thanks for coming along. Thanks for watching. Well, as many of you are aware, Rick posted videos on YouTube here as well on his channel, The Luminary Shoppe. So those videos are there for the sake of posterity in preserving the mechanics of how carriage lamp restoration works. So it's good to have that there as he enters into this phase of retirement. And we're glad to have some of his equipment put over here in this store across the street that will be available hopefully here in the near future. As you come and visit, you can go and ponder and view some of the tools and some of the lamps that he has worked on over the years. So we're glad that this is happening, but yet sad to see him shut down the shop, and he's moving from the community as well. So as he said, it's kind of a close of an era, but that's just how life goes. It'll happen here as well someday. Till then, appreciate you following along. Thanks for watching again.